won't shut up. 2. Alice is at work, sipping a cup of Earl Grey and thinking just how lucky she is to be married to a man like Liam, who is so even-tempered, he never even raises his voice to her. Liam and Alice live in the Ballarat township, on the better side of the small area called Newington, in a charming Federation home with carved veranda posts and abundant lavender in the garden, just a short walk from the Victoria Gardens. Not that Alice goes to the gardens that often, but it's nice to know if she wants to, she can. Alice met Liam about 9 years ago, and within months they realised they could never live without each other, and moved in together into Liam's charming but ramshackle house, which is now their home. As soon as Alice moved in, they decided to renovate. After all, they could afford to renovate on Liam's salary as a lawyer, so why not? They had her journalist's salary too if they needed it, which they didn't. The old house certainly needed the renovations. It was tired and had been constantly updated by previous owners who had hideous taste. The ugly gas heater in the lounge room had to go, and the brown tiles in the bathroom, yuck. They began the renovations, it must have been about 8 years ago, before the babies. They took great pains and expense to ensure the house returned to its original state, to the Federation period in which it had been built. They scoured hills of rejected basins and baths until they found a pink claw-footed bath and a yellow Art Deco pedestal basin. The basin was a bit too modern, but it was cute and no one would know. They paid a fortune to have them both re-enamelled in cream. Jeff, who owned Ballarat Salvage, smiled whenever their Renault wagon pulled into his yard and up went his prices by at least 25%. Alice always thought Jeff needed a good scrub and was sure she saw wildlife in his dreadlocks, but he always gave them a good price, so she always made sure to be extra friendly to him. When Alice and Liam finally finished their expensive renovations, they didn't like them at all. The renovated house was too clean and crisp, too bourgeois, too haughty and smug, so they covered the walls and ceilings and light fittings with brightly patterned sarongs and lace tablecloths and silk scarves and batik and cheesecloth bed covers that smelt like rancid cheese. They covered the leather couch in the lounge room in a crochet rug and sequined velvet cushions, and they hung Buddhist prayer flags and chimes across the front and back verandas, even though they weren't in the slightest bit religious. They filled the bathroom with ferns, so you wouldn't notice the expensive handmade Mallorca tiles. In the course of renovating, Alice and Liam had made the sensible decision to rip out the very efficient but ugly 1960s gas heater. It was hardly Federation. Instead, they installed an ornate fireplace with cast iron surrounds and antique tiles, before they were reminded of how cold Ballarat winters could get and how chopping wood at the end of a workday isn't fun. Well, it wasn't fun for Liam. That first winter after the renovation had them huddling in the front of the fire with bowls of curry on their knees, and when the bowls were empty, they dragged their mattress off the cast-iron bed frame and down the hall. They laughed as they bumped into the walls and nearly knocked their Murka painting down. They pulled the mattress past the couch and into the lounge room and let it fall with a crash and a burst of dust onto the timber floor in front of the fireplace. Oh, those were the days. Alice pulled the crochet rug off the couch and threw it over the bare mattress, and they made love. Sweet, slow love. Warm fire love. Alice caught the crochet lace of the rug in her fingers as she rose to press against Liam's groin. His long body moved slowly above her. Oh, how she loved him. She had love tears in her eyes, she loved him that much. The embers burned away on the other side of the fireguard, and the warmth of the fire made Alice forget about a franger, and Liam wanted to really feel her because she was just so glowing in the light of the fire that was crisscrossed on her skin as it came through the wire of the fireguard. So, even though he thought of a franger, he didn't mention one either. 6 months later, they married on the top of Mount Buninyong, despite the searing heat of summer. Liam wore a pair of harem pants and a linen shirt with a grandfather collar, and Alice was barefoot and wore a long crimson velvet dress that stretched over her belly, and she had freshly plucked flowers in her long black hair. 3 months after the wedding, Maximilian Blue was born, and they couldn't have just one. He would grow up to be a spoilt brat, and no one wants a kid like that. So 12 months later...